In this video we're going to give you a quick walkthrough and a review of the Nokia Lumia 2520, Nokia's first Windows RT tablet, so a new product category for the mobile phone manufacturer. Let's get straight into the box here. Got a red tab here, pull it out the drawer, typical of Nokia boxes, and inside the red device. Just come back to that in just a moment. Just lift up this flap and show you the rest of the box contents. You've got the charging cord there, as well as a micro SIM door key hinting at the LTE connectivity inside the device, as well as a leaflet, but the in-bit box contents pretty sparse. Coming back to the device itself here, fairly typically for a tablet, dominated by the big screen. We've already set this up and been configuring it, so you can see here we've got the 10.1 inch screen, 1080p resolution. It's actually very good for a tablet screen, one of the best in terms of this kind of category of screen, if you like, the 1080p resolution. That's because it's kind of a story that you get repeated throughout this device. Nokia's used its expertise in mobile phones and smartphones and brought that into the tablet space. So for example, on the screen here we've got the Gorilla Glass 2 protecting it, fairly typical, but you've also got the Nokia sunlight readability enhancements and the way they've actually arranged the screen in terms of the layers, the polarizing layers and stacking it in the touch layers and all of that, which means it's got excellent visibility in all conditions, including bright sunlight. So it really stands out as one of the better tablet screens. The one weak point may be the oleophobic coating. It's not as good. It does tend to attract quite a lot of fingerprints, this device. But that's kind of story of Nokia using its technology multiple times in this device. It keeps reoccurring. So for example, we've got the LTE connectivity and very good in terms of signal strength and being able to hold on to a connection. But you also get that in the design itself. I think that's more obvious if I just flip over the device here. You can see here that it's got kind of the typical Nokia branding, but also the rounded corners and the colours that are so typical of the Nokia devices. This one's got a gloss finish, as does the white version. The black and the cyan versions actually have a matte finish, kind of again similar to the Lumia smartphone range. But also talking about the similar smartphone range, here's the Nokia Lumia 720, and you can see what I mean about the design commonality. You get that in things like the camera, and actually this 720 and the 2520 share the same camera module. It's a 6.7 megapixel, it's got the Zeiss optics 1.9 aperture. Actually very good mid-range camera, but one of the better ones you'll find on a tablet, for example. Also look at the buttons here, very similar in style. That's the lock and power key, volume key, same here on the 720. Going around the rest of the 2520 here, we've got micro USB as well as micro HDMI port. On the bottom there's a dock port, that's for the optional power keyboard accessory. That adds two full-size USB ports as well as 50% extra battery life. We'll look at that in a later video. On the right hand side here we've got the 3.5mm audio jack as well as the power port at the top. On the top side here we've also got the slot where the SIM card and the micro SD card go, so that's for memory expansion as well as connectivity. It's a micro SIM format. Let's just go back to the front of the device here, and you can see we just dropped into the store, and that actually brings us on to the software. Again, we can talk about the commonalities with something like Windows Phone. So if we just bring in the 1520 here, you'll see the same live tiles. So I think that's one of the strong points about Windows RT. You'll get a very similar feel between Windows 8, Windows RT and Windows Phone. That extends to all sorts of bits of the UI. You can see the app launcher here. There aren't actually any app compatibilities. You will find that there's many of the same applications in the two app stores, but in terms of actual app compatibility it's not there at the moment. In terms of the API levels, I understand it's about 30% at the moment, but Windows RT is very much its own platform. It's kind of a cut down version, if you like, of Windows 8. You will see there's a desktop here that you can get into, and I've actually got Word running there, and you can see typical Windows desktop, but you can't run x86 applications. You're limited to what's in the Windows Store here. 100,000 applications or so, not as rich as something like iOS or Android, and that's kind of one of the weak points of the device, if you like. But of course the strength is also that you do get applications like Word and Excel, and actually you get Word built in, or it comes pre-installed, and so in terms of productivity terms, excellent value. And for those that live in the Microsoft ecosystem, that's kind of the reason to choose this device. I think that debate of Windows RT versus iOS and Android has been talked about a lot. It's not really what I want to concentrate on this review. I think the summary would be, as consumers, the iPad is probably still the stronger choice, but if you're very much into productivity on the tablet, or you want something that's mainly going to be consumption and browsing experience, consider Windows RT. I think when you're talking about the 2520, it's obviously going to have more of a comparison with other Windows RT tablets, the obvious one being Microsoft Surface. And that's kind of interesting. You've got slightly different processors in here, so Snapdragon 800 in this, and actually it's the same as you get here in the Lumia 1520, so very similar in terms of the internal specifications, but obviously quite different devices. The Surface 2, by comparison, has the Tegra 4 processor. It's not quite as good in performance terms, so the 2520 certainly wins there. But then you don't, for example, have the stand on the back, which you do on the Surface device, and then it becomes about some of the other extras you get. In size and weight terms, they're very similar. Actually, I think the 2520 feels smaller because of the rounded corners. You can talk about the extras. For example, you get 200 gigabytes of SkyDrive space with the Surface 2, but then you get some of the extra Nokia apps with the 2520. So, for example, you get something like here, Maps here, a full version, similar to what you get on Windows Phone. You can switch it into satellite mode, for example. And you also will, in this version, get a street level view. That's the first time I've actually seen this on a Nokia device as opposed to on the web, something that you'll get on Windows Phone in due course as well. So here Maps, as well as things like, as I say, Nokia Mixed Radio. So just jump into that, you get free streaming music. Here on the 2520, you'll actually get kind of free Nokia music to use. On other tablets, you'd actually have to pay for it. You also get things like Nokia Storyteller. This is app that's basically a way of looking at your photos. You can see here on a map the sort of the geo-reference photos. You can also drop into the timeline view, and this will connect to both your phone and the cloud. You can actually see it's connected to a phone, and you can just connect that via NFC. I've got it connected to my Lumia 925, and it will then stream in photos. So the latest set of photos, I go here to the end, will actually be ones that are stored on the 925 itself rather than on the tablet or online. It's a kind of a nice extra, but I did find Storyteller a little bit laggy, so I think there's some performance improvements needed there. In terms of Windows RT, you've also got, this is the latest version, so it's 8.1, so you're able to do things like have applications running side by side. So there are some improvements. It's improved a lot since the initial release. The software isn't really what I want to talk about too much in this review. I really wanted to concentrate on the hardware. There's a few other things I haven't mentioned. For example, at the bottom here we've got the twin stereo speakers. Very good when you're watching video or want to listen to a bit of audio gaming, and a certain amount of music as well, I guess. Inside you've got an 8,000 milliamp hour battery. That means it will last through a day very comfortably, and a couple of days depending on your usage scenario. Slightly superior, I would say, to the Surface 2. You've then also got the ways of getting this screen off the device. I've already mentioned the micro HDMI port here, but you've also got Miracast support and DLNA. That works pretty well. I've tried that out. So all of those things are strong elements of this tablet. Also, quick charge. That's the way that you charge this device, and it's actually built into the Snapdragon 800 processor. It's a technology that comes from Qualcomm, but it means you can charge 80% of the battery in about an hour or so. That's really important when you're grab and go in the mornings. And it's one of these elements of this device which makes it extremely portable indeed. And it's kind of that mobility first attitude which I think defines this tablet, particularly in comparison to the Surface 2. Another way you can see that is we've actually got mobile broadband or connectivity built into this device. So it's LTE. I've got a SIM card sitting inside, but no service where I am right now. That means that this is a very portable device in terms of being able to get connected wherever you happen to be. That's really strong, I think, in terms of using a tablet how it should be wherever you want. So you'd be able to get your email, do your browsing when you're sitting in a coffee shop. No need to necessarily log onto Wi-Fi, and that obviously is a big contrast with the Surface devices, which don't have that built-in cellular connectivity at the moment. And really that kind of mobility angle, which comes also from the power keyboard and from the kind of the design of the device, is really what is the appealing factor on the 2520. I think Nokia have designed a tablet up from their mobile phone perspective or their origins, whereas Microsoft have kind of designed it down from the PC perspective. Which one you prefer is kind of up to you, but I think the 2520 is the stronger mobile device, and for me that's what tablets are really about. I mean, it's good in the other areas too as well, but it's that mobile portability and more particularly mobile productivity where the 2520 really shines. You can't ignore other tablets, and I still think for consumers an iPad is generally going to be a better buy. But if you're a business user, if you live in the Microsoft ecosystem, or you're interested in this as a Nokia product, Nokia have done a very good job on their first tablet. Not without room for improvement, of course, but I think that's true of pretty much any consumer product. So there we go, there's a very quick look through the Nokia Lumia 2520.